Good day, grade 12 learners. Welcome to today's tourism lesson. My name is Evans Maponya. This lesson is brought to you by the Gauteng Department of Education in collaboration with Saibono Discovery Center. The topic for today is world time zone. Now, grade 12s, the point of departure here is knowledge and background of the world map. As I've reflected on this slide, this is the world map and it shows you different continents of the world. The 7 continents of the world are shown here, and for you to understand the time zones well, you need to have a thorough background of the world map, where the continents are located, where different countries are located, and be in a position to know the direction, the 4 main direction points: the north, south, west, and east. So I deliberately put this slide just to conscientize you about the importance of map when you do the world time zones. In this topic, the world time zone, you'll find it in the final exam question paper as section B, and you'll find questions based on time zones in question number 2. You'll further be assessed on this topic on control test, skills assessment task. You'll find also in the practical assessment task, you'll be assessed on this topic during the prelim examination as well as the final examination. So by and large, you'll come across questions on world time zones on the assessment that you'll be doing for the year 2024. Now, grade 12s, what is important for you to know is the world time zone concepts. From your work schedule, you'll find this on week 5. So what you need to know is the concept time zone, which I will unpack as the lesson progress. I will also make you to understand the concept on UCT, Greenwich, hemispheres, the equator, and seasons, the concept of standard time, the concept on local time, the international dateline, the 24-hour clock, which begins the day on 0:00 hours and ends the day at 23:59. I'll also unpack the concept of latitude, and I will talk more about the longitude as well. I'll also take you through to the introduction to world time zone map, which I will display as the lesson unfolds. Some other important concepts that you need to know are the question, the concept of daylight saving time, in short, DST. Some call it summertime. I'll also take you through the reason for this practice, and I'll examine with you the impact of time zones and daylight saving time on travel planning and traveling. All these are the concepts that you need to internalize as you study, as you prepare yourself for examination question on time zones. Understanding time zones. For you to understand time zone better, you need to peruse through the issue of time. What is time? How do we derive time? Where do we get our time from? Now, from the slide, you learn that time is measured on every longitude. I will explain to you as we go on what a longitude line is. Places on the same longitude have exactly the same time. So the countries or areas of the world located along the same line of longitude have exactly the same time. The space between two longitude lines is called a time zone. So in defining a time zone, you'd simply say time zone refers to spaces between two longitude lines, and that's it. There are 24 hours in a day. Thus, it explains to us that there are 24 longitude lines in time zones which runs from north to south. Now, in explaining what a longitude line is, or a line of longitude is, you'd say a line of longitude refers to the line on the map that runs from north to south. The space or zone between every two longitude lines represents 1 hour. The area between two lines of longitude is equals to 1 hour. Now, from the basic understanding is that the earth is round and it makes a revolution of 360 degrees. If you divide the 360 degrees through 24 hours of the day, it means that the earth rotates 15 degrees every 1 hour from west to east. So you must understand that the rotation of the earth is anti-clockwise. It rotates from left to right, hence west to east. So these are the few basics that you need to understand, grade 12 learners. Here is a picture demonstrating the rotation. It shows you that the rotation is from west to east. The world time zones. The diagram that is reflecting here shows you the lines of longitude that we said they run from north to south, vice versa. They are 24 in number, and they run from the North Pole to the South Pole. So I need you to understand the importance of these lines of longitude, starting with the main one, which is the UTC. So the UTC in full is the Universal Time Coordinate. It lies on the 0 degrees longitude line, and you may simply call it, if you don't want to say UTC, you may simply call it the 0 degrees longitude. Another name for the UTC, or Universal Time Coordinate, is the Greenwich Meridian Time, or you may simply call it the Prime Meridian. The standard dwell time, we've said, is measured from the UTC. So it is important for us to know that we derive our time from the UTC, or the 0 degrees longitude. So all countries of the world get their time from the UTC, depending on their location on the world map. All the lines of longitude east of the UTC are ahead of time, are ahead in time. So from the map, you'd see, as we project later on, that all the countries in the east, all the longitude located east of the Universal Time Coordinate are indicated with a plus. All the lines of longitude west of the UTC are behind in time, and they are indicated with a sign minus. We'll get to see that when we get to the actual practice of the time zones. The exact time of certain places is called local time and is based on where the sun is over at that specific time. So local time explains the time of a particular place. So if we are to give an example of local time, you'd say the local time for Johannesburg, for instance, you'd say it's 14:15 or 14:14. So that time, it's an expression of local time when you reside in Johannesburg. So local time simply explains the time of a specific area. Another concept that we needed to learn was the 24-hour clock. The 24-hour clock reduces the confusion between morning time and afternoon time. So on that basis, when we do time zones, we have to use the 24-hour clock at all times. The reason behind that would be airlines schedules use the 24-hour clock to state time of departure and that of arrival. Universally, the 24-hour clock may not confuse anyone. So we'll further elaborate on the use of the 24-hour clock. When one works with time zones and calculations, the time difference between countries, it is important to be familiar with the 24-hour clock. So, grade 12 learners, for your enrichment, not only for your enrichment, it is for you to note importantly so that when we do time zones, at all times, the 12-hour clock doesn't apply. So it simply suggests that we are not going to use the AMs and the PMs when we do time zones. We are going to work on 24-hourly basis. Here is just but an example. 1:00. It's 1 in the morning, and it is how it should be written. Forget about the AMs, because we have only one 1 hour of a clock as when we use the 24-hour clock. We have only one 7:00. That is 7 in the morning. And if you have to translate this to the evening, it will be 19:00. 12, it's only midday, and midnight it's 00 hours. So the midnight is the start of the new day. So as soon as we say 00:01, it's a minute past midnight and cannot be repeated in one day. By using the 24-hour clock, you can eliminate mistakes or uncertainty as to whether you mean AM or PM, that is your morning and evening. Back to the UTC, or the prime meridian. The picture here demonstrates to yourself the location of the prime meridian or the universal time coordinate. So the prime meridian is located in the middle at 0 degrees, and when you move westward to the next line of longitude from the prime meridian, from the 0 degrees longitude, it is at 15 degrees west, and it is -1. We have alluded to the fact that between the two longitudes, that space represents 1 hour, or a movement, a rotation of the Earth by 15 degrees. So 15 degrees on a time zone map is equivalent to 1 hour. The same applies when you move from the 0 degrees longitude, which is your UTC, eastwards. When you move from the 0 degrees to the next line of longitude, you shall have moved 15 degrees east, and you'll be at the line of longitude plus 1. The UTC in this diagram, we have alluded to the fact that the Earth rotates on its axis, and one rotation results into 1 day, which is constituted by 24 hours, and a day and a night. So the projected picture here, it is that of the world, showing that certain regions of the world sees the day early than other places of the world. So when it is daylight in other regions of the world, it is night in other regions. So the picture projected here demonstrates the difference between day and night as the Earth rotates over a period of 24 hours. Right. Grade 12 learners, I have explained so much about the line of longitude, which we said it runs from north to south, and I have elaborated much on the 0 degrees line of longitude, which is the prime meridian, and I have further elaborated on the difference between the two lines of longitude, which we said that difference give us 1 hour, and the Earth turns 15 degrees west to east. I'm sure by now you are well conversant with how important this line of longitude is. I mean the 0 degrees line of longitude. Essentially, so we said all regions of the world derive their time from this line of longitude. Right. May I also emphasize that time is of essence for us as tourism learners. In business language, they say time is money. So whatever you do on earth involves time. So we must draw our attention back to why time always. Why is time important? Why certain shop they are open at certain time and close at certain time? Whatever we live for involves a lot of planning. So for us as tourism learners, the essence of it is that as we travel, we use time by and large. So it is important for us to establish the departure time as well as arrival time. When certain businesses or sectors in the tourism industry open and close for business, am I going to be able to make a call for someone abroad during this time of the day? So the whole concept of time is very crucial on planning travel for us as tourism learners. So the important message that I want to drive home is to, as I've demonstrated, that the 0 degrees line of longitude is very critical for us to understand the issue of time. Now, contrary to the 0 degrees longitude, it is the 0 degrees latitude. The 0 degrees latitude, it is the equator and divides the earth into north and south. Now, a latitude, it's a line on the map that runs horizontally from east to west, the equator being one example, and it is at 0 degrees. Other lines of latitudes that we have parallel to the equator, you'd have in the south the Tropic of Capricorn, and in the north from the equator you'll have the Tropic of Cancer at 23¼ degrees. You have both the north and south poles, which in extent are shorter than the equator. So the equator is at the center, and as we said, it divides the earth into northern and southern hemisphere. So as we further deliberate on the time zones, you would realize that the seasons between north and south are not the same. So this brings us to the concept of season, that if it's winter in the southern hemisphere, it is summer in the northern hemisphere. How does that help our planning? It says to a tourist from the south visiting the north at a particular season must be aware of the weather conditions that prevails in the north, such that that particular tourist would be able to plan his trip, take the necessary equipments and clothing as he visits another region of the world. So the equator is one but just latitude, and it is one of the important latitude for us and for the basis of understanding how the time zones work. So time and again, as we do time zones, we will check as to whether countries are located in the north or northern hemisphere or in the southern hemisphere. We'll also refer to that country as being situated in the east or west, and whether or not we should add time, or it's ahead of time or behind in time. So I've alluded to two lines that we find on the map. That is the longitude, and as I stand, the longitude would be from my head to my toe, and the latitude, as I stretch my hand, will move from east to west, or vice versa. I hope I've driven home the concept of the two important lines that we find on the map. And as I've alluded to, I've made an indication that there are 4 seasons in 1 year, and they are in direct relation to the position of the equator. I've expressed the notion that if it's summer in the north, it is winter in the south. And what brings us to that conclusion is the availability of the 0 degrees latitude, which is our equator. So the 4 seasons of the year, you'd have summer, winter, spring, and autumn. Now, the diagram clearly shows the rotation of the Earth, and you'd have the summer and autumn solstice and equinox. So with summer solstice, it expresses an idea that you'd find some days very long in summer in the southern hemisphere, and wherein you would have shorter nights. I'm going to repeat this. Summer solstice explains that during summer in the southern hemisphere, you'll have very long day and very short night. And in the northern hemisphere, you'll have the opposite, which is your winter solstice, which means that you'll, at that particular time of the season, you'll have very long night and very short days. And the same kind of happening does happen also in autumn and in winter. In autumn and in spring, I'm sorry. Now, grade 12 learners, another important line of longitude. Longitude, remember, runs from north to south, vice versa. It is the international date line, and in short, it is referred to as the IDL. So previously, when you studied the travel documentation, there was a concept of international driver's permit. I'm not bringing this concept into the fray, but I just want to you to understand that we don't have an international driver's license, but an international driver's permit. Because if you refer to it as international driver's license, then in short you'll refer to it as IDL. Now, for the sake of differentiation, the international date line, and only the international date line, in tourism and well time zone study, the IDL will refer to the international date line. So what it is? The international date line is the 180 line of longitude. It is an imaginary line, and once you cross it towards the east, you add another day, and you cross it towards the west, you subtract 1 day. So the 180 degrees separates between today and tomorrow, yesterday and today. So once crossed, you either add or subtract a day. Eastwards you'll add, and westwards you will subtract. The slides indicates that the date changes from today to yesterday when traveling to the west over the IDL. This happened in Japan to Canada alongside the Pacific Ocean. And it further changes the date from today to tomorrow when traveling east over the IDL from Canada to Japan, still over the Pacific Ocean. Some countries like USA, Russia, and Australia have more than one time zone. This is because of the stretch of that particular country from east to west across so many different time zones. An example will be Australia, where you have 3 time zones. So Australia stretches across 3 different time zones. So it has 3 different times. This is the IDL. And unlike the 0 degrees longitude, your UTC, which is a straight line, the international date line is perfectly not a straight line. It is not straight because at some point it has to accommodate certain countries to have the same day. So if it were straight and had to cut across a particular country, then it would mean that country will experience 2 different days, today and tomorrow, in 1 day. So to accommodate such countries, the IDL is not such a straight line, and alternatively It is bending where a country extends outside its time zone to accommodate it, or to accommodate such a particular country or the rest of that country to have one day in 24 hours. I'm trying to move to the next.
Excellence. Excellence is a habit. Excellence is a quality you have, a quality I have. It's a quality we have when we honor what is true to us. Yes, we are gifted differently. uNkulunkulu akasinganga ngokufana. Excellence is striving for your best. Whenever you have a particular project, test, homework, uzibuze, ask yourself, is this my best? Can I put in more effort? Excellence is striving to be in the top 1% of the area in which you are gifted. And so I challenge you, in every single thing that you do, in every single area that you are gifted in, whether it's sports, it's academic, or...
As I've indicated, this is a portrayal of the IDL. It is not such a straight line, and it's unlike these other lines of longitude. It is at 180 degrees, and it differentiates
Excellence. Excellence is a habit. Excellence is a quality you have, a quality I have. It's a quality we have when we honor what is true to us. Yes, we are gifted differently. uNkulunkulu akasinganga ngokufana. Excellence is striving for your best. Whenever you have a particular project, test, homework, uzibuze, ask yourself, is this my best? Can I put in more effort? Excellence is striving to be in the top 1% of the area in which you are gifted. And so I challenge you, in every single thing that you do, in every single area that you are gifted in, whether it's sports, it's academic, ucula, whatever that gift is, strive for excellence.
all right. This slide, it's another representation of the IDL, and it shows you how the IDL runs. And if you look at how it moves, it wouldn't go straight across Samoa and Tonga. If you can refer to the two countries, Tonga and Samoa are in close proximity. However, when it's today in Tonga, it is the following day in Samoa. So we can safely say, as the IDL runs across the two countries, Samoa is 24 hours ahead of Tonga, because it has seen the next day, and Tonga is just about to end the previous day. One of the concepts that we must understand is the world time zone map. So this is the type of map that we find on your question papers, it will look exactly more or less the same as this one. So we've been talking about this over the time, and this is now the real world time zone map that will come across in our different assessment as we proceed with time zones. Before we look into the world time zone map, I have a feeling that we need to take a 5 minutes break, and when we get back, we'll relate the concepts that we have mentioned with the time zone map that is reflected before you. I'm going to take a 5 minutes break, and don't forget to come back for us to complete the terminology and the concepts that apply to our study of time zones. Grade 12 learners, welcome back after a short break. Those who want to pose question for this lesson, you may post it on WhatsApp on this number 063 508 1301. I repeat the number, it's 063 508 1301. In case you need to be clarified on certain concepts or explanation. Right. I hope you have refreshed, and we need to further the move. The world time zone map, it's one of the concepts that we must clearly understand. And as I indicated from your question paper, you will be presented with this world time zone map, and you need to have a clear understanding. We are going to reflect on some concepts that we have explained, like the prime meridian, which we said it's our UTC, which we said it's at 0 degrees longitude. So from the portrayal here, I am going to draw across north to south where the 0 degrees longitude runs. So the red line indicates the position of the UTC on the world map. Just a reminder, we said all countries of the world get their time from this line of longitude. We have also spoken much about the international dateline, which is found right at the edge of your map in the east, and right at the edge of your map in the west. It is a dotted line, and it bends to accommodate or to put some parts of the countries within, and to separate, to get in between the countries, to separate between today and tomorrow. So these are the longitude which we have expressed their importance as we study time zones. Contrary to the longitudes, we said we have the 0 degrees latitude, and the 0 degrees latitude would be your equator, and will separate the world into northern and southern hemisphere. Just remember that this will be our northern hemisphere, and this side will have our southern hemisphere. And the 0 degrees longitude, we said it will separate the universe into east and west. So east way, that's where you'll have the pluses. So it means all the eastern countries, all the countries that are located this side are ahead in time as opposed to countries located in the west where you would minus, where you would always subtract. On top of the map, you would see eastwards, you'll have a +1 here, the longitude +1, and from 0 degrees to +1, we said represents 1 hour. It represents 1 hour. And if you move to +2, because now you have crossed 2 time zones, 2 timelines, then you'll have a difference of 2 hours. So it will be a +2. So you'll add 2 hours. And if you move to +3, you'll add the 3rd hour and so on up until you reach the 12th line of longitude eastwards. The difference occurs westwards when if we have +1 in the east, in the west you'll have a -1, -2 the second one, the third one it will be a -3, and this indicates that westwards it's behind as opposed to east. So on this map you will define using the line of longitude which countries or which movement you are expected to plus. It doesn't matter. When you move from the west to the east, as the sun rises from the east, so eastern countries will see the day first as opposed to western countries. So countries located this side of the map would see a new day as opposed to countries located this side of the map. I just wanted to make a demonstration on this map to show the time in respect of the movement from the east to the west and the movement from west to east. So brilliantly so, this map has a clock inside. So you'll have this clock, and that's where you would work your calculations if necessary. If necessary, you can use this clock that comes with your map when you do calculation later on. Right. I have explained how you should work around this map, and to explain further, in this map you'd find different shades. So you can see here you have some gray shades. Elsewhere there are no shades at all. So these shades that you find in this time zone map group areas which have common time or which derive their time from the same line of longitude. I'm going to also reflect on Cape Town as opposed to Johannesburg. As you look in terms of position, Johannesburg is located somewhere here, and Cape Town is right at the edge of the map and very closer to +1, whereas Johannesburg is closer to +2. So we don't have different times in Cape Town and Johannesburg, mainly because of the fact that these two towns, these two cities are shaded the same. So the shade draws Cape Town into a +2 so that we have the same time in South Africa. So what you should bear in mind is that not always the countries or areas will derive their time from a longitude, but look more importantly on the shading that groups cities of a particular country together so that they have the same time. So the situation is different if you peruse through Australia. As you can see, Australia stretches over 1, 2, 3 time zones. And as you look at the shadings, they are not the same. And this tells us that in Australia, you have 3 time zones. This is 1 time zone. This is another. And this is the 3rd time zone. So as we have explained, Australia would stretch over these 3 time zones. That is 1, 2, 3. Hence, there are 3 different times or time zones in Australia. But the case is not the same with South Africa. As we have explained, Johannesburg and Cape Town. Cape Town is towards the +1 line of longitude, and Johannesburg is towards a +2. But because the whole of South Africa is shaded the same, then it means we get our time from a +2, which is also written inside the shade. So if you don't want to refer to the line of longitude, look inside the shade. You will find an indication of +1 or +2 if that is the case. So all these areas that are shaded the same as South Africa will get their time from GMT +2. So grade 12 learners, I wanted to show you the actual position of different cities of the world and from which line of longitude they derive their time from. So we'll interact often with this kind of map as we further proceed with the study of time zones. where you'll be expected to calculate in future, and the point of departure, it is the world time zone map. So time and again, when a question is posed, we'll refer you to the time zone, more especially if it needs you to calculate or if it needs you to identify the time zone of a particular city, of a particular country or region. So it will serve you best to familiarize yourself with the world time zone map. So before you do anything time zones, just have a look on the time zone map, just scrutinize it so that you arrive at correct answers. One concept that was mentioned in the introduction was daylight saving time. Daylight saving time expresses the notion that the idea that countries located far from the equator have very short days and the sun rises long before 6 a.m. in the summer and sets earlier than we know. Therefore, these countries tune their clocks 1 hour ahead, or we can say these countries would adjust their time 1 hour ahead of local or standard time in their summer, and this act is referred to as daylight saving time, or we may simply refer to it as DST or summertime, as it is mainly prevailing in summer, autumn and spring in some parts of the world. So the diagram below, the two watches below indicate the adjustment of time ahead by 1 hour. So time here is adjusted forward. If you look at the month, it is the month of spring, and here the time is adjusted backward. So at the end of this particular period, when days are now normal, you would move back to the normal time, no adjustment whatsoever. So as we move further to the next slide, you will realize the same watches as expressed in the earlier slide. So here it's a demonstration of forward adjustment plus 1 hour in spring, because the days are longer than the nights. And once this period where we experience long nights, long days, and shorter nights ends, then we return back to normal time. You minus that 1 hour, and this subtraction of an hour, or this movement from long hours of day to normal time, in America it's referred to as fallback. So the term fallback means to return to standard time as the day become shorter, or as days become shorter. So you'd move back to the normal time, and that is referred to as fallback. As we move ahead with our slide, we are going to look at how time zones and daylight saving impacts on travel planning. The first impact of time zone and daylight saving on travel planning is that tourists flying to other countries must consider time zones and must determine exactly how late they will arrive at their destination. I'm sorry, it is one bullet here. If we can remove that bullet to make it one sentence. Tourists flying to other countries must consider time zone and must determine exactly how late they will arrive at their destination. The second point, or the second impact, is that at night, early morning, public transport can be closed or not available. So it is important for you to take such consideration. That are you going to arrive at night? Are you going to arrive early in the morning? What transport arrangement should you make in the absence of public transport? Other than a flight booking, is there any other transport booking of some kind when you arrive at your destination that you should make? Say maybe a shuttle from the airport to your destination, to your accommodation. That movement should form part of your planning, should form part of your itinerary. That after I've reached the airport of my destination, how do I get to the hotel? Is it early in the day? Is it late at night? And what arrangement I should make. The third impact of time zones and daylight saving is border posts on roads can be closed at night. So it becomes difficult for you to cross certain borders at night. So therefore, you should be aware of such and plan to arrive at the time when the border posts are still open. It also helps you with phone arrangement. If you were to phone someone from a different time zone for business, it can be difficult if you are not aware of whether in that country they are practicing daylight saving time, if you are not aware of whether it's early or late. So it's important for you to make some call at an acceptable time. If I were to cite an example, if you were to phone someone in Australia, which is 10 hours, which is 8 hours ahead of our time, you'd check your time and see the difference and establish whether is it night or day. Is it feasible for me to make a call? So time zones and daylight saving time has an impact to that effect. So as you can see the diagram below, it reflects different times in different regions of the world. So if you are here and it's daylight, do not assume that a person who is here experiences the same time as you. So if it's daylight here, it is highly possible that it can be night here. Looking at the different time zones that the two countries or the two clocks are located. So you must be aware of such instances, not to convenience other people. The reasons why we have daylight saving, and most of these reasons are of benefit to tourism business and also benefit the tourist and everybody who's involved in movement across countries of the world. So one reason for daylight saving is that it has an effect of decreasing residential electricity usage. So this explains that you have so much daylight and there is no need to switch on lights because days are longer than nights. So you have that extension of the day where you can go without switching on the lights. It also decreases the number of traffic accidents because it is safer to drive during the day. So most of the fatal accidents happen during the night. So daylight savings has an effect of reducing the number of traffic accidents. As explained, during the day, fewer accidents are experienced. It has a potential of reducing crime. Most of the criminal activities happen during the night. So if we have an expansion of a day, a long day, then the crime stats will be reduced. It increases recreational time for tourists. So tourists have enough time to spend enjoying and experiencing the attractions they have visited. It has an increase in economic activity, meaning that businesses involved in tourism can extend their day by 1 hour. So meaning they can increase their profit, they can close 1 hour later. Those are some of the benefits of applying daylight saving time or DST. Now we have a worksheet that is prepared for you, and if we can just spend 2 minutes on the worksheet. It's 6 questions and you have just to fill in the missing words, and these missing words comes from the concepts that we have addressed previously. I'm going to allocate you 2 minutes to complete this activity. We'll discuss it thereafter. From this activity, you are expected to fill in the missing words, concept, to complete the statements below. Now let's look at the answers. It says DST is the temporary change in the country standard time. Your question was, is the temporary change in the country standard time? So you have your answer as DST. The second question required you to mention what divides the Earth into Eastern and Western Hemisphere, and the answer to that was longitude. The third question, South Africa has a standard time zone, and the question required to know how many time zones are there in South Africa. And like we have explained, in our example of Cape Town and Johannesburg, we have only one standard time zone in South Africa. This stands for International Dateline. That would be your question 4, and it's the IDL, or an alternative answer to that would be the 180 degrees longitude. Number 5, the world is divided into time zones, and the correct answer for that is 24 time zones. It's also known as the Greenwich Meridian, so it is the prime meridian. So these are your answers for the activity. And before we conclude, I just want to recap on today's lesson and see if we have covered what we needed to learn, or what we have learned in the past week. Just want to go to the... So we first introduced this topic by relating to the world map, and you are shown different continents of the world. We also indicated that on your question paper final in the prelim, you'll find this on section B, and it is your question 2. So it is important for you to know where will you find this on your question paper. We have made an expression of that, and you'll come across control test skill, these questions on time zone on control test skills assessment task, the PET, the preliminary examination, and the final examination. So it means there is a repetition of this topic in our assessment at most. We tried to cover the concepts as per your work schedule, and we have alluded to the fact that on your work schedule you'll find this on week 5, and to take stock if we have covered these concepts, all these concepts. In our discussion, we spoke about the time zones. We spoke much about the UTC, the Greenwich, the hemisphere, the equator, the seasons, the standard and local time, the international dateline, the 24-hour clock, the longitude and the latitude. We have introduced you to the world time zone map. We have looked at the concept of daylight savings. We have looked at the reason for practice, and we also looked at the impact of time zones, daylight savings time on travel planning and travel. So we have covered what we needed to cover. And that, in short, brings us to the end of the lesson on time zone. Grade 12 learners, I hope this introduction to studying time zones have opened your eyes and have consolidated the information you had on time zones, and this information that we've been discussing is just but an introduction to more aspects of time zones. Or are you